What you're about to see will make your blood boil and question everything you thought you knew about WWE's so-called new era under Triple H's leadership. Monday Night Raw just delivered the most disgusting, unprofessional, and downright shameful display of power abuse we've ever witnessed in professional wrestling. Triple H, yes, the Triple H, physically assaulted Bayley in what can only be described as a cowardly attack that has zero place in modern wrestling. And before you even think about defending this garbage, let me ask you something. When did it become acceptable for a 54-year-old executive to put his hands on a female performer half his age? When did WWE become a place where corporate bullies can physically intimidate their own talent? This isn't storytelling, this is a disgrace that makes WWE look like a joke in front of the entire wrestling world. For months, we've been watching Bayley fight tooth and nail to reclaim her position as one of WWE's premier female superstars. After years of being booked like an afterthought, relegated to meaningless feuds and treated like she was lucky to even be on television, Bayley finally started speaking up. She demanded better storylines, better opponents, and the respect she's earned through years of dedication to this company. But here's where it gets absolutely infuriating. Instead of listening to one of their most talented performers, WWE's management, led by Triple H, decided to punish her for having the audacity to speak up. Think about that for a second. Bayley, who has given everything to WWE, who has been a role model for young fans, who has elevated every single woman she's worked with, gets treated like she's the problem. The tension between Bayley and Triple H didn't happen overnight. It's been building for months as Bayley watched less talented performers get pushed while she was left to rot in catering. She saw part-time performers and celebrity guests get better treatment than someone who shows up every single week and gives 100% effort. And when she finally had enough and decided to confront the man responsible for these decisions, what happened? He showed his true colors. Triple H, the same man who preaches about respecting the business and doing what's best for business, couldn't handle being questioned by someone who actually knows what it's like to work for a living. Instead of having a professional conversation, instead of addressing her legitimate concerns, he chose violence. He chose to remind everyone that in WWE, if you're not part of the inner circle, you're expendable. Let me paint you a picture of what happened on Monday Night Raw, because if you missed it, you missed one of the most disgusting displays of power abuse in wrestling history. Bayley walked into Triple H's office with legitimate concerns about her position in the company. She wasn't being disrespectful, she wasn't making unreasonable demands, she was simply asking for the opportunities she's earned through years of hard work and dedication. But Triple H couldn't handle being questioned. His ego couldn't handle the fact that someone might dare to suggest that his booking decisions weren't perfect. So what did he do? He lost his mind. He completely snapped and showed everyone exactly what kind of person he really is when the cameras are rolling and his reputation is on the line. The pedigree he delivered to Bayley wasn't just a wrestling move, it was a statement. It was Triple H saying, "This is what happens when you question my authority. This is what happens when you think you can hold me accountable." It was a 54-year-old man using physical violence to silence a woman who dared to speak up for herself. And the worst part? The absolute worst part of this entire situation is that there are people defending this garbage. There are people saying this is just part of the show, or good storytelling. Are you kidding me? Since when is workplace harassment good storytelling? Since when is a male executive physically assaulting a female employee something we should applaud? This wasn't a wrestling match. This wasn't a planned storyline segment. This was Triple H showing his true colors and proving that all his talk about respecting talent and doing what's best for business is complete nonsense. When push came to shove, he chose to be a bully instead of a leader. Here's what makes this entire situation even more infuriating. Triple H is the same person who spent years talking about how WWE has evolved, how they're committed to treating their talent better, how the company has moved past the toxic culture of the past. Remember all those interviews where he talked about creating a more professional environment? Remember when he said WWE was committed to supporting their female talent? All of that was revealed to be complete lies in the span of about 30 seconds. All those pretty words about respect and professionalism went out the window the moment someone questioned his decisions. Triple H showed everyone that he's the same power-hungry corporate politician he's always been, just with better PR. And let's talk about the timing of this assault. Bayley has been one of WWE's most consistent performers for years. She's never caused backstage drama, never complained publicly, never done anything but show up and do her job at the highest level. She's been a role model for young fans, especially young girls who look up to her. She's represented WWE at charity events, media appearances, and community outreach programs. So when she finally decides to speak up about her position in the company, something any reasonable employee should be able to do, Triple H's response is to physically assault her. Are you serious? This is how WWE treats their most dedicated performers. This is how they handle internal discussions about creative direction. The message this sends is absolutely horrifying. It tells every WWE performer that if you question management, if you advocate for yourself, if you dare to suggest that maybe things could be done better, you'll be physically punished. It tells female performers specifically that they better keep their mouths shut and accept whatever scraps they're given, or else. Since this assault happened, we've seen some absolutely pathetic attempts to justify Triple H's actions. WWE's social media team has been working overtime trying to spin this as some kind of brilliant storytelling moment. They're calling it shocking television and must-see drama. Are you kidding me? Workplace violence is not entertainment, and calling it that is insulting to anyone with half a brain. Then we have the usual suspects on social media defending Triple H because he's their hero. He's just doing his job, they say. It's all part of the show, they claim. Bayley knew what she was signing up for when she became a wrestler. These people are completely missing the point, either intentionally or because they're too blinded by their hero worship to see what actually happened. Let me make this crystal clear, there is no justification for what Triple H did. None. Zero. If this happened in any other workplace, it would be called assault and the perpetrator would be facing criminal charges. But because it happened in WWE, we're supposed to pretend it's entertainment. We're supposed to applaud it as good television. The fact that people are defending this garbage shows just how toxic wrestling culture still is. It shows that despite all the progress we've made, despite all the conversations about treating performers better, there are still people who think it's acceptable for management to physically intimidate their employees. And don't even get me started on the people saying Bayley deserved it or had it coming. These are the same people who would lose their minds if their boss at work decided to physically assault them for asking for a raise or questioning a company decision. The hypocrisy is staggering. While we're all focused on the immediate shock of Triple H's assault, let's talk about who the real victims are in this situation. Yes, Bayley is obviously the primary victim. She's the one who was physically attacked for doing nothing more than advocating for herself. But the damage goes far beyond just her. Every female performer in WWE just got a very clear message about what happens when you speak up. They've been told that no matter how professional you are, no matter how much you contribute to the company, no matter how much respect you've earned, you can still be physically punished if you question the wrong person. How is that supposed to make them feel safe in their workplace? And what about the young fans who look up to Bayley? What message does this send to them? That standing up for yourself gets you hurt. That questioning authority leads to punishment. That if you're not part of the inner circle, you don't matter. These are the lessons WWE is teaching the next generation of fans. The other performers on the roster are victims too. They've all seen what happens when you cross Triple H. They've all gotten the message that their job security depends on staying quiet and accepting whatever treatment they receive. This creates a culture of fear where talent is afraid to speak up about legitimate concerns. Even the fans are victims in this situation. We're being asked to accept workplace violence as entertainment. We're being told that assault is okay as long as it happens in a wrestling ring. We're being treated like we're too stupid to understand the difference between a planned wrestling match and an executive losing his temper. The ramifications of Triple H's assault on Bayley are going to be felt for years to come. This isn't just about one incident, this is about what this incident represents for WWE's culture and future direction. Triple H has shown that all his talk about evolution and progress was just that, talk. When faced with the first real test of his leadership, he chose to be a bully instead of a leader. How is WWE supposed to attract top talent when potential signings see that questioning management can lead to physical assault? How are they supposed to maintain their current roster when performers realize they're working for someone who will hurt them if they speak up? The talent pool is deeper than ever before, and WWE is going to find it harder and harder to retain top performers if this is how they treat them. The damage to WWE's reputation is immense. They've spent years trying to position themselves as a more professional, more respectful organization. They've talked about being a publicly traded company with higher standards. All of that credibility went out the window when Triple H decided to assault one of their top female performers on live television. And let's not forget about the sponsors and partners who are watching this unfold. Do you think these companies want to be associated with an organization where executives physically assault their employees? Do you think they want their brands connected to workplace violence? WWE's corporate partners are going to be asking some very serious questions about this incident. The most tragic part of all this is what it means for Bayley's future. She's now in an impossible position. If she fights back or speaks out about what happened, she risks further retaliation. If she stays quiet, she's essentially accepting that this behavior is okay. Either way, her career has been damaged by someone who was supposed to be looking out for her best interests. The response from WWE's management and the wrestling media has been absolutely telling. Instead of condemning Triple H's actions, instead of calling this what it is, workplace violence, they've tried to frame it as a storyline development. They've treated a serious incident of assault as if it's just another angle to generate social media buzz. This response tells us everything we need to know about WWE's priorities. They care more about protecting Triple H's image than they do about the safety and well-being of their performers. They care more about generating controversy than they do about maintaining a professional workplace. They care more about short-term ratings than they do about long-term consequences. The silence from other WWE performers has been deafening. Where are Bayley's friends and colleagues? Where are the other women on the roster who should be standing up for her? The fact that nobody has spoken out publicly shows just how scared everyone is of facing the same treatment. And the wrestling media? They've been just as complicit in normalizing this behavior. Instead of asking hard questions about why an executive felt it was appropriate to physically assault a performer, they've been analyzing the storyline implications and discussing how this might affect TV ratings. It's disgusting. This is exactly the kind of response that enables this behavior to continue. When assault is treated as entertainment, when workplace violence is discussed as if it's just part of the show, we're all complicit in allowing it to happen again. If WWE doesn't face serious consequences for this incident, it sets a dangerous precedent for the entire wrestling industry. It tells every promoter, every booker, every executive that they can physically intimidate their talent without facing any real repercussions. It normalizes workplace violence and makes it harder for performers to speak up about legitimate concerns. The fact that this happened on live television makes it even worse. Triple H didn't just assault Bayley, he did it in front of millions of viewers and treated it like entertainment. He turned workplace violence into a television segment, and that's something that should never, ever be acceptable. This incident also reveals the hollow nature of WWE's supposed commitment to supporting their female talent. All those women's evolution speeches, all those statements about empowering female performers, all those photo ops with female executives, none of it means anything if this is how they actually treat their women when the cameras are rolling. What do you think about this disgusting display of power abuse? Are you as outraged as I am? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to share this video to spread awareness about what really happened on Monday Night Raw. The wrestling world is watching, and it's time for WWE to be held accountable. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.